This is 2E0 Mike Tango returning. Hi there, I'm Ben, I'm 2E0 Mike Tango, and I'm here with part 2 of the Idiot's Guide to Building an Allstar Node. And in today's episode, we're going to be looking at power. But first, before we get started, two things to remind you of. Firstly, at the end of this video, there's a chance to enter a competition to win either an Allstar Node that's ready built for you, or all of the things you'll need in a kit to build your own Allstar Node using these hopefully helpful videos. So today we're going to be looking at power, but before we go there, the other thing I need to remind you of is that I forgot to tell you to purchase something, which is one of these. This is a programming cable for the Baofeng. It has a USB at one end and the little dual jack that goes in the side of the BF888 in the other end. You don't really need one, but they're certainly helpful. The reason I say you don't need one is that I suggest programming these to a particular frequency, but actually you could just use them on the factory default as long as that falls within the band in whatever country you're in. But it's probably better to get one of these. They're about £3. Anyway, back to power. The first thing we're going to do with power is we need to look at our case. So these cases have a slip out front, and we're going to have to mount a few things on here before we start applying power to the node. Now, there's a few things that you'll need for this. Cup of tea, of course, mandatory for all operations. And then the panel from the back of the box that you've bought, a straight edge, a Sharpie and a pen, and 3 of the components: the switch, the power input, and the 90-degree SMA male to female thing. Basically what you're going to do is drill a load of holes in here. I mean, you could assemble all this without it being fixed to the box and the board. The problem with doing that, of course, is that you'll have to desolder everything and resolder it once you've mounted things. So it's far better just to do it first time. So find the back of this and find the middle of this, which is going to be 3.2 there. And it's good to try and get this nice and straight on here. I'm using a right angle, but halfway down, let's just mark this, double check, looking good, looking straight. Yep, that's fine. So now we've penciled in, let's pen it in. Obviously this is going to end up on the inside of the box, so it doesn't matter if it's written on with permanent marker, because it's going to end up on the inside. So that's the middle of the box, and then we're going to mount on 3 things. So the SMA female to male is going to go somewhere about there. So we'll put antenna, and then we're going to put this socket for the power about there. So put P for power, and just next to it S for switch. And then what we're going to do is put some other holes on here. I recommend about 10 holes. They're about 5mm across, and we'll try and space them out evenly so it looks nice and neat. These are just air vents on the back, and so I think we'll probably go 5. So if I drill a hole on each of those, then let's have a look at what it looks like. Right, to the garage to find a workbench. Okay, so that's a 5mm drill bit. Let's drill out these first few holes, see how this looks. Well, there we go, lots of holes in that. That'll give good air circulation. Now for the other holes, for the antenna, the power socket and the switch, we're going to have to measure these quite well because they need to be a good fit. So let's do that now. So on the antenna, you're trying to measure a hole for the threaded female, not the male with the bolt on, the threaded female. And I think that's going to be somewhere between 5 and 5.5. So I think I'm going to try at 5 for now. Okay, we're going up to 5.5. Always easier this way around. Always easier to make a hole bigger than to make a hole smaller, isn't it? Let's see, how's this looking? That is perfect. it's sort of threading in, screwing up, and that is successfully mounted. So that's the first one, and once the pigtail's gone on the back, that'll be perfect. So number one done. Let's go with the switch next. So again with the switch, it was 5.5, but just to spin it an extra little bit, I think 6 would have been too much, but that's the switch in place. Now let's try the socket. So what I did there was I increased the drill each time till I got to an 8mm bit, and the 8mm bit has been a perfect fit for the socket. Let's get back inside and wire this up. Right, so here we now have that piece of plastic back from the workshop, and all of the holes drilled in. So our socket is going to go just there. Doesn't want to be mega tight, but just so it doesn't loosen, that's adequate. And then next up to that, let's pop that through there. This one's a bit tighter, so we just need to screw it in place, but that isn't going to be a bad thing. And then let's go, so it'll be that way round once it's on the box, so we'll go with on being up, I think, like that, something like that, and then pop that on there, screw that on, and again we'll just tweak that tight with these. How's that? It's looking good. These are just air vents just to keep the radio cool, and then for the last one I find it easier to put this screw thread on there. This is from the pigtail, this little nut here, and then pop that through. It just gives you something to tighten it against, and then it's not too wobbly once it's in place, ready to go. Okay, let's start soldering the power in. Okay, well, nothing worse than a cold soldering iron. So step one, turn the soldering iron on, and then we need some lengths of wire. I'm going to use red and black for the positive and negative. Call me original. Now we need to work out with this, the plug, the power supply that I've got gives you this little symbol here which shows me that the positive is in the center pin and the negative is on the outside. So we just need to make sure which of the terminals are connected. I think I can probably guess, but it's probably worth just double checking that. So I am guessing that the short, well, let's see, so the outer one there, yeah, so the short one is positive in the middle, so that's going to be red. I'm going to run that to the switch and then through the switch to the buck, and then this is the negative black wire, also going to go to the buck. So let's solder those up. So that's the wires all skimmed. Then I'll tin them and then solder them on. I find for tinning, a little dab of this stuff just makes it all go a bit easier. It evaporates very, very quickly because of the high alcohol content, so got to move relatively quickly, otherwise it's all gone. Now, because this is quite thin wire, you've got to be careful, because it not only gets hot quickly, but it also therefore doesn't set the solder straight away. So you need to just hold it on, make sure it's properly gone off, and try not to burn yourself. Not the neatest job, but then I'm not very good at soldering, but I think that will do it. And then those powers are going to go onto the buck converter. Let me find that. So on this buck converter, you've got very clearly marked in positive, in negative, out positive, out negative, making sure it goes the way through the arrows. So that's where they're going to go on. Just pop them through and solder them on that side. So next up we need to check the voltage going to this buck converter. Make sure your board's clear before you plug anything in, because obviously you don't want anything to short on the underside there. But let's find our power supply unit. Okay, so if this goes in here, so we should at this plug here, if I bring my ammeter in play, at this plug here we should have 12 volts, well close enough, 11.8, and then output of here is currently at 12 volts. So at the moment it's not stepping anywhere, so we need to adjust this tiny little screw on the top of the potentiometer to drop that down to 5 volts. And to do that I'm going to need to find a very small screwdriver. Now this is the point that you definitely need 3 hands in all this, because I could really do with these two being placed on here and then a third hand to try and turn the potentiometer, but hopefully I'll be able to magically do it just like that. Here we go. So I'm turning it one way just to see what happens. Nothing happening that way. Turning it the other way. Nothing happening either. Right, I'm going to keep twisting because sometimes you need quite a few turns. Okay, that seems to be going up, so I'm going to go back the other way and hopefully we'll start seeing it drop. Dropping very slowly. Here it goes now. I probably had to turn that about 10 times. I'm aiming for exactly 5. So that's where I'm trying to get to. Exactly 5 volts, because that's what the Raspberry Pi needs. And getting there, getting there, getting there. Very sensitively turning it up, because I'm a perfectionist. There we go. 5 volts. So that's one set of voltages that we need. That is for the Raspberry Pi. The other voltage we need to step it down to about 4.2, somewhere around there, because that's the voltage that the radio needs. So let's have a go at that. So this is one of the batteries that comes in the with the radio, and as you can see it's about 3.8. It says on it 3.7, but I think fully charged it's about 4.2. So we're trying to get it somewhere between 3.8 and 4.2. And how we're going to do this is by adding a diode or two into the mix. And I say or two because it depends. They're not 100% accurate how much they drop the voltage, but I think I will need 2. But let's experiment with that now. So as you know, a diode is definitely polarized, so you need to get it in the right way. We're going into the positive here, but making sure that the anode is facing away so that the voltage is going the right way through it, otherwise it will not let any voltage through. There we go. Now let's see what the voltage of that is. So this side it's 5 volts, but the other side is 4.7, so it's dropped about 0.3. Okay, so we're definitely going to need another one in there and see where we get to. We have the full 5 volts here, we had 4.7, 4.8, and over here we've got 4.5, so we probably could do with a third. Okay, let's try that. So at this end we know it's 5 volts, here it was 4.7, something like that, 4.5, 4.3. Well, that's still a little bit high, but I think it's close enough, and they're quite resilient. So there we go. It's only 0.072 high. That's the first time I've ever had to use 3 before now, but in one of them that I did, I had to remove one of them. It changed over time, so I might end up having to remove one. Look, it's dropping. I wonder whether there's something about the heat. As the heat is dissipating from the solder, I wonder whether that's having an impact here. Look at that, it's still dropping. Well, we'll monitor that, but I think that's probably okay. There's still some heat in it, but not too much. But look at that, that's coming right down. So that's now perfect range, 3 rather than 2 even if I took it out of after 2, it wouldn't be miles over the top, but still, that's looking really good now. So we've got 5 volts for the Raspberry Pi from there, and 4.1 into the radio. So next up I'm going to use these 2 wires with these sockets on for the GPIO pins onto the Raspberry Pi. I'm going to use just a short length with those 2 sockets on the end just to hook up the Raspberry Pi. I think about there should do it. And solder these on to the buck converter. So then coming out of these 2 pins here, I should have 5 volts, and at this one here I should have now 4 point whatever it was. I'm going to just put a little length of a different coloured wire on there just so that I know that clearly, easily see that it's got voltage in it, but it's not red, so I know it's not the 5 volts. So then using the other end of these, because I don't think we're going to need these for anything, this is the end of the, without the socket but with the pin on. If I just open these up, I should be able to, very carefully without shorting it and blowing the whole thing, but I should be able to test the voltage across here. There we go. So just by plugging those in there, that on there, that on there. Okay, so I'm getting 5.01 here. What does that say negative? Oh, you dozy thing. I've put them on the wrong one. So that was definitely worth checking before plugging into the Raspberry Pi, because that would have just blown it. And now if I check again, red on red, and black on this darker brown colour. Let's turn the thing on again. Here we go. 5 volts, that's good. And then if I drop that off the buck converter and try it on this one that's going to the radio, I get, see, hasn't that dropped? That's 3.9 now. Now I think this must be something to do with the temperature of the diodes. It might be that I end up having to take one of those out. But we'll leave it to go proper cold and try it again in a few minutes and see where we get to. So now we can put this back together. We've got to go, let me unplug that for now. So this is the back of the box here, and you know you've got the bottom of the box because you need the one with the holes in, and then that's going to sit there just nicely. And I think I'll probably have to just drop these round in a slightly different direction. Okay, so one last test. Now it's all in place. You'll see I've just bent this diode round so that the wire for the radio ends up about in the right place. So we've got our negative voltage there and our positive there. So that's still at 5 volts. Out of the buck. At the end of this one here for the radio, we're looking for about 4, something like that. What are we at? Well, that's impossible. 5 volts, 4.6, 4.3, 4. How did it go up to 5 here? Well, that is a miracle. How on earth is that possible? How that end of a wire? Look, it's because I'm touching it. If I touch that wire, I must be charged. I'm not earthed. I've got some residual current in me. Ha! 4 volts if I'm not touching it. Or if I am touching it, it'll jump up to 5. I'm electric. That is amazing. I have never seen that before. Well, I never knew I was that electric. But yeah, there we go, 5 volts. So that's all good. And that is power done. Well, a few hiccups along the way, things that I've never experienced before, like my electrical energy at a volt inside me. Absolutely amazing. A couple of mistakes as well, putting the red and the black wire the wrong way around, schoolboy error. That's why it's so important to have a voltmeter before you start plugging things into components. But hopefully that's been helpful. We've now got our power sorted. I think the next step is going to be our Raspberry Pi. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, do hit the like button at the bottom. And if you've got any questions, add it to the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And at the very end of this video, click on the link so that you can enter the competition to either win an Allstar Node or win all of the bits and pieces that you need to build your own using these helpful videos. I'm Ben, I'm 2E0, Bravo Mike Tango, off and clear, 7-3. This is 2E0, Bravo Mike Tango returning.